Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with John Abrams in Taipei. Hi, it's Fantastic Formosa, and I'm John Abrams, and welcome back to a new episode. We have a very special guest today, and we have a former U.S. Army helicopter pilot named Brian, and he's here he lives in Taiwan, and he's here after his retirement. He is here doing all kinds of interesting things with his life. He loves Taiwan, and Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Brian, how long have you been in Taiwan so far?
Total, I've been in Taiwan almost 4 years.
All right, great. 4 years. Wow, that's a bachelor's degree. So you must be an expert on Taiwan.
Not yet.
What do you like about Taiwan? What do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, Taiwan's a great location. The people, culture, the things to do, very diverse. Of course, it's quite well known as the foodie capital of Asia.
Great food, yeah.
Great food. Enjoy it.
What are you? Are you a surfer, hiker, mountain climber? Or, there are these outdoor activities here that you cannot find so concentrated in other places.
Yeah, so a couple, outdoor activities I like to do, of course, is just, hiking. Go up to the local mountains and stuff. Very scenic, beautiful. But I think my passion that I spend the most time in is with scuba diving. And I also, last year, I got certified down in Xiaoloqiu for free diving.
Free diving, what is that exactly? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so it's real simple. You hold your breath and you dive down as deep as you can go.
Oh my God!
Swim around, and then you come back up before you run out of air, all on one breath.
So that's sort of a gamble, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that a somewhat practiced sport that you know when it's time to run back to the surface? Or?
Yeah. I've actually learned a lot about physiology of the human body and stuff doing it. It's interesting. You can. By doing so, you can train your body that you can start holding your breath for longer periods of time, different breathing techniques and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
But the deeper you go, there's more pressure on your lungs, isn't there? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, of course. The deeper you go, there's more pressure on your body as a total. But you don't have to worry about the bends.
Yes.
As you do in scuba diving, because in scuba diving, you're breathing that compressed gas air underwater. So when you come up, that gas will expand if you don't come up slowly, right? So there's a scuba diving, you have a controlled ascent to the surface where you have a safety stop. But that's not the case in free diving.
Now, the bends, that's because of, what do they call it? Is it nitrogen? I don't remember the name of this chemical that builds up in your body.
Yeah, you can basically, you can get the nitrogen air bubbles can expand in your bloodstream.
And that's pretty dangerous when you go out, if you go up too quickly or you do not decompress in a chamber when you get back up, right?
Right. Yeah. Of course, it can cause embolism. Stuff like that.
So, how deep have you dived?
So, with scuba diving, just recreational diving. I'm a PADI, Advanced Open Water Diver. I got certified. Went down to 130 feet.
My God.
Down, and it's pretty good. It's interesting when you go down there. They do some training with you, and you look at some color wheels, color charts, and at 130 feet down, you do not see the color red anymore.
Really? Why?
It has to do with the light wavelengths as they travel through the water.
Really?
Red is the first one to disappear. That's part of the training.
So if you're going to use some sort of board to write on, the red is not the color you use.
Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
right. So
definitely.
they do have these magic marker style boards, don't they? That they oil boards. They write notes to one another. Or
use black ink or black marker with whiteboard would be good.
Okay. How about this so-called free diving, where you're going deep without any gear, I guess?
Yeah, so I did the basic qualification for free diving down in Xiaoluqiu, and the basic wave 1 got me down to 15 meters, so roughly around 50 feet. It was definitely a little bit more challenging than I anticipated, mostly because 90% of the time with freediving, you're on the surface, and then you hold your breath and you dive down for your excursion. But if there's any sea swells, you can get seasick a lot easier when you're freediving because you're just floating on the surface. And however, I will say that my instructor told me that I was seasick more than any of his other students in the past.
Well, I should warn the reader. This is kind of a joke, kind of a funny twist of things, because you were an Army helicopter attack pilot, in Afghanistan, Iraq, and here you are, just doing some. For me, it's pretty dangerous, at least diving deep and getting seasick. So that's a strange challenge, I suppose. When you get that deep, though, do you feel the thermal layers, the coldness as you go through them?
I definitely, when I was scuba diving at deeper levels, I could definitely feel the thermals as you go through them.
Right.
That's very noticeable.
Always spooked me, when I would swim in a lake back home, and my bottom of my feet could just tap the top of the thermal layer, and I just knew that it was going to be. It just gave me that creepy, what we call heebie-jeebie, or in Chinese, I think it's jibi-gada, a creepy feeling that there's something there. So did you see any sharks or anything that gave you a bit of a chill?
I haven't, while scuba diving or free diving, I haven't had any encounters with sharks, large ones. I saw some small sharks down in Bali, but very small.
Right.
Not a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, I guess, I did have a shark encounter when I was 14.
Really?
In Oregon.
Oregon, okay.
So off the coast of Oregon, cold water, very popular area for great white sharks.
Oh, not good.
So of course, great whites like cold water.
I didn't know this.
So my family had taken me to a beach area, or it was a bay, an inlet bay, and off the ocean. And there was some sea lions playing in the bay, and I thought I would walk out on this sandbar, out in the water, see how close I can get to these sea lions.
Oh no, I could see this as.
I was the water was up to about up to almost my throat, top of my chest, and that's when a very large shark. Maybe, I don't know, I estimate, 7 to 8 feet, came from behind me and ran into me for my right hip.
Oh my God.
And I looked down, and, just massive shark. And he just, his whole body slid against me. And
checking you out.
Continued on. And then, of course, I panicked, and I tried to run back to shore, but you can't run in the water that deep. So I swam back to shore, and that was it. I guess I assumed the shark was hunting the sea lions, and I got too close to it. So
Right. Well, you almost. Do you have any scarring? They are sandpaper-like skin, right?
No scarring or anything.
So when you got to the shore, did you have any sort of abrasive?
No.
See,
Nothing.
you don't have a story now.
Yeah. I just remember looking down and seeing this massive shark next to
And
me.
your heart probably went up into your throat, and you have this massive panic, and suddenly the water is like mud, and you're trying to get out of there. And when you panic, it actually attracts them, don't it?
I think so, yeah.
So
based off of that experience, I decided to choose diving and freediving as my hobby.
Well, they say that reefs and particularly dock areas, wharfs attract bull sharks, which are pretty mean-spirited.
Yeah.
And they account for a lot of people who just like to do morning swims, you know. Yeah. A very bad time to swim is just before sunup, so in the morning. But it's a good way to wake up, too. But not if you've got a shark ripping your legs off. I guess that would be bad. I don't hear too many shark stories in Taiwan. Do you know if it's a problem here? Or?
No, I never have never heard of any shark attacks myself. I would assume
too many ships maybe going through.
I don't know. I know the obviously the sharks are attracted to fish. So the sharks are going to migrate to feed in areas where more fish are. Mm-hmm. So I would look to areas that are probably off to the east of Taiwan in deeper oceans where there's probably more fish than
the abyss.
Taiwan Straits is probably maybe a little overfished.
And crowded. Yeah. And a lot of junk in the bottom. Plus the pollution. The waves are erratic, the ocean. Yeah, they call it the Black Ditch, the Taiwan Strait, because of it's famous. The waves are supposed to be the hands of ghosts that come up and drag ships to the bottom. It's an old folklore story. One of the things that interests me about your life story is you grew up in a rugged environment. I believe it was Montana.
That's true.
Wow, some pretty famous cowboys came out of Montana, and if anybody in the military, particularly the U.S. Marine Corps, they all know, and you were not, you were in the Army, they know that General Mattis, who was the commander in Afghanistan, I believe, and finally Secretary of Defense, he grew up in Montana, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
Also the Navy SEAL that executed Osama bin Laden is from Montana.
Montana. Poor guy just got arrested, didn't he? Drinking and driving, poor guy.
Yeah, alcohol and driving does not mix.
No, but SEALs are kind of aggressive, I think. I don't know if I had killed Osama bin Laden, if I had been that legendary guy, right? I don't think I would want to have billions of Muslims around the world looking for me. No offense to the Muslim community, but I feel that he's a terrorist and he was worshipped by so many people. I don't know if I'd want I don't know if it'd be worth writing a book and getting my picture out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it all depends on what your goals in life. If you want to just stay in Montana and I think you're pretty safe in Montana. But if you want to live the world traveling lifestyle, then you probably want to keep your mouth shut.
Definitely. Plus, Montana is a Rocky Mountain area.
The western part is definitely part of the Rocky Mountains. The eastern part of Montana is actually plains and pretty desolate area.
Now, the mountains kind of divide the personality a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The mountainous ranges are more aggressive and rough and tough, and whereas the coastal areas are more city boy, I guess, college educated. Am I wrong, or?
Yeah, that's true across America.
Sure.
Any of the rural communities.
Like the one I grew up in as well. You know.
You know, the more outdoor activities, people working on the farms and maybe a harder lifestyle.
Muscular labor.
Yeah. So
right. I don't miss it.
I recently just traveled back to my father's home in Arizona, and he has about 10 acres of land there.
Wow.
And
that's a lot, folks. Horses?
Yeah. He did have horses. There's a horse pen there, area for horses, but currently there's no horses there. But yeah, so I was there for vacation, but my father took the time to point out all of the yard work.
How convenient! Hi,
on
son.
the
You're
10
home.
acres of land that needs to be done. So
thank you for coming, and here's a rake and shovel.
Yeah, that's always been a joke amongst my family with my grandfather and my father is whenever you travel to each other's home, it's always, I'm here, what work needs to be done.
Yeah, no catching up at all.
Yeah.
He might give you a can of beer and give you a shovel and say, get to work.
Yeah, it's time to paint the house.
I had a very similar lifestyle. Oh my gosh. There wasn't a day where I had to do something. It's a great opportunity to learn and actually be a man. Today's college kids can't change a tire on a car, I don't think. So in Montana, you grew up in this rural environment, mountains and cowboys. They have an incredible rodeo program.
Yeah.
The rodeo is a very popular sport. If you don't, I'm sure the Taiwanese may not be familiar with that. Rodeo is where you might ride a wild bull, cow, bull, a big animal, muscular. You ride it, and they time you to see how long you can ride it. And if you don't get killed, you get a trophy. My wife seems to be fascinated by rodeos. Did you go to very many of these things?
Yeah, I actually just went to one last summer in Montana.
Right.
It's a annual event where the rodeos, just like the travel and circus, the rodeos come to town.
Right.
It still goes on, and it's a exciting opportunity to take part in.
Yeah, great fun. Now, you never did that? Never tried a bull and ride a bull?
I did not. No, I did not ride a bull. I kept. I rode horses.
Right, of course, as I did.
No wild bulls.
Horses, women love horses, and I never understood why. For me, they were always just big dogs, basically, that you had to feed them, you had to comb them, and water them down, and make sure they got water and food, hay. But they could be mean-spirited if you gave them a chance.
Yeah,
big animals. But you were in Montana, and you went to high school. And did you go to college first before you joined the Army, or?
No, I actually went to university while I was in the Army. Yeah.
So wait a minute, you joined the Army and attended a university inside the Army.
That is true. Yeah. So the U.S. military has advanced education opportunities for enlisted members to attend university classes while you're actually in the military, and they have professors at the military installations, and then they also now have the online universities, which has made advanced education opportunities a lot more feasible for people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Taiwanese military are familiar with this, but we have the University of Maryland program, right? And you can get a bachelor's or master's degree in the military at a base. They might have classes on a base, and even on an aircraft carrier, they have the classrooms.
And
believe it or not,
the good part about that is the military will pay for those classes while you're in the military. Yeah,
that's a great opportunity for you to get a free bachelor's degree, master's degree. That's one of the things I've noticed when I talk to a lot of U.S. military veterans is they have 3 master's degrees, because there was nothing to do. They killed time by, I don't know, get a degree in psychology or get a degree in whatever.
Right, right.
So they come out of the Army after 20 years and are super highly educated. They have all these great skill sets they learn from their job, their ordinary job in the military, and oftentimes they have trouble finding work. Why is that? Is it because they were out of the job market for 20 years, or?
It depends on the individual, of course, and then what did they get their degree in? Of course, education is a stepping stone,
right?
But most employers, are going to want to hire you based on how you can contribute to that organization, whether it's making money for them or whatnot, right? Producing. So, if you can produce for them, then they'll hire you. But if you have a university education and something that doesn't really translate well into the economy,
right?
Then it's it's good for government jobs maybe.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of Taiwan military friends I have retire after 20, and they have a very hard time finding some sort of civilian work. And they're very well educated here even. So you as you were in the military, you joined the Army, U.S. Army, and you went to boot camp. We call it boot camp, but it's also called basic training. But boot camp is the most common phrase we use, right?
That's true.
Where did you go?
That's an interesting story. I was 17. I did join the U.S. military a little bit earlier than most people think you can. The minimum age to join the U.S. military is 17. So I finished my my primary education early, and my mother signed the paperwork allowing me to join
Parents'
the military.
Permission, yeah.
Yeah. So the recruiter came to my house on my 17th birthday and signed the paperwork, and two weeks later I was shipped off to basic training.
Oh my God, that's quick.
Yeah. So I weighed I weighed 120 pounds,
right.
soaking wet. And
that's a phrase in America.
Yeah.
Soaking wet, I weighed 120. That means they barely made 120.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting. I remember I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It's the home of the field artillery. So when I first joined, I was a cannon crew member for the M109 155 Paladin.
We have them here.
Yes, yeah.
We call them the 8-inch gunners, right?
Well, the 8 inches are bigger.
120 millimeter, or
so the 8 inches, the rounds are they roughly weigh 200 pounds.
You're right. There is a difference. My apologies.
And then the 155, which is the Paladin, the M109.
All right.
Those rounds weigh about 100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did get qualified on both, though. I did get qualified on the 8-inch and the 155, but Taiwan does have both also. Right.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
You don't want to be anywhere near them when they go off. Man, wow, your ears.
Yeah. I signed up for a program called the OSET training. They call it the One Station Unit Training. So that there in that block of training, you get your basic training, and then you get your artillery traiing, all combined into one period. So it was 16 weeks of pure hell. Yeah, I kept thinking it was going to get easier as time went, but it just kept getting harder.
Oh no!
I went in there thinking I was going to be the best soldier in the world, and very shortly I was humbled and was praying that I just graduate.
Oh my God!
So
all right.
I definitely
they do that on purpose, though,
of course.
Yeah,
it was definitely a a learning experience for a young 17-year-old. My drill sergeant told me that if I wasn't in the Army, he would adopt me.
That's a put down, we call it in America.
Yeah. Basically, he's talking about how young I am.
Yeah, you're so young. You could mow my grass. Something like that. Yeah, childish. Did they have a nickname for you in boot camp? Because they often give people nicknames.
No, I never had nicknames.
All right, they usually give you a very embarrassing name. Sometimes, at least the Marine Corps did for a long time.
Yeah.
And that becomes your call sign for the rest of your career.
Yeah, the Army's never been into call signs or nicknames.
When you think of Maverick, from the air show, how about helicopter pilots?
No. U.S. Army helicopter pilots. We don't have call signs or nicknames.
Gosh, it lacks sexy.
Yeah.
You had to have a really cool name like Maverick or Mustang or something really. You don't want something stupid.
Yeah. Your call sign is attached to the duty position that you perform in the unit.
I see. Okay.
That
way they know who they're talking to all the time.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Sure. So you were in artillery for a while, and you thought, well, this bang bang stuff is not working out for you, and you had big dreams. So
yeah. So my father actually, my father worked as a Bell Helicopters tech rep.
Okay.
In Vietnam. He lived and worked for Bell Helicopters as a civilian in
How long
Saigon.
in Vietnam?
He was there for 2 years, 68, 69.
Okay. Those were the rough years, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh,
yeah.
68, 69. We had the Tet Offensive. Oh.
Yeah. So he was there for that. And, so that's how he kind of brought up the subject to me about Army helicopter pilots and the warrant officer program.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the field artillery for a couple of years, and he said, "Hey, why don't you fly helicopters for the Army?" And so I didn't really know what that entailed, but I looked into it, and there was so as an enlisted member, you can apply to be a flight officer, a warrant officer,
right,
for the Army, and so I applied. I was accepted, and then I went through the warrant officer candidate school, followed by flight school. So all in all, took about a year and a half, 2 years of training, and then I came out as a junior, pilot, W01.
W01. Okay, that's the warrant officer one. Okay, just to let the reader know, because when you're enlisted, you're E1, E2, E3, right?
Right.
And then warrant officers are what we call non-commissioned officers, NCOs, right? No?
It's a convoluted way of thinking about this, but warrant officer 1 is technically a non-commissioned officer.
Right.
Because he's not commissioned by the
NCOs, right?
Secretary of Defense. But the CW2 is a commissioned officer.
What's a CW2 stand for?
Chief Warrant Officer.
Right.
Or commissioned.
That's the guys everybody wants to go up to be a chief petty officer or chief warrant officer.
Yeah. So in the warrant officer ranks, the W01, you're basically appointed to W01 by the Secretary of the Army, and then once you get promoted to CW2 after 2 years, then you're a commissioned officer, and you can legally command a unit just like any other commissioned officer, a captain, lieutenant, whatnot. So of course I stayed in total 25 years, so I retired as a CW4.
Is there a CW5?
Yeah, so when I first started in the warrant officer world, there was not. So the CW5 rank came out about halfway through my service, and it's basically the top of the pyramid. So there's very few CW5 positions.
Okay. Right.
So I did get looked at for CW5 a couple times. I was not selected for CW5, but the Army asked me to stay in as a CW4
because the war was going on, right?
Yeah. So at the end of 25 years, I said, well, okay, I'm gonna hang it up and collect my my dues and go about my day. So it was a good time.
What was your training helicopter? The first one they trained you on?
Yeah, so the training helicopter I trained on was the military term is the TH-67 training helicopter.
They
67.
have them here, yeah.
And it's a civilian helicopter. It's the Bell 206 Jet Ranger. So it's the bare bones version type stuff. Yeah, but it's actually a very reliable, dependable helicopter. Great for training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those a lot here. Yeah, actually, they still use them.
Yeah.
And then after that, after you certified for that, did you have a choice of different platforms?
Yeah.
There's the Chinook, there's the Apache, there's there's some others, I suppose. What else is there besides those?
Yeah. So going through flight school is like going to a university, right? So you have academics, ground academics, and then flight academics, and you're tested, evaluated, and ranked, just like you get a percentage grade based on your performance, right? So at each stage of training, you'll have a test, and then you receive your grade. And then that goes into the Order of Merit list, the OML. And at the end of your primary flight school training, they will have a meeting of everybody that's in your class, and the Army will release the number and type of aircraft that they need people to train in. Based on attrition from other people retiring or getting out. So they'll start the class and they'll say, okay, the guy that scored the best on the Order of Merit list, you get to pick which helicopter from the list, and so you just go down the list in order of your performance, right? So I wasn't at the bottom. I wasn't at the top. I was somewhere in the mid top 2/3. I was able to select the Apache helicopter, but I got the very last one.
Oh, okay.
And the downside of that was one of my best buddies from flight school. He was below me on the OML, on the Order of Merit list.
All right.
And he actually had been dreaming and talking about flying the Apache the whole time.
Yeah.
And I took the last one. I felt so bad.
Never spoke to you again.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's doing good. He's actually flying commercially for Southwest Airlines now.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can go from a rotary aircraft to a commercial fixed-wing aircraft.
Yeah, so that is true. So the FAA has requirements for pilot experience and training, right? So your flying experience, number of hours, translates over to pilot experience, but you still have to get the fixed wing qualification training, right?
Right, of course. So
if you take a civilian versus a former helicopter pilot, and you put them, in the training to fly commercial aviation, the helicopter pilot will come out much faster with the experience to fly commercial aviation than a regular civilian would.
Right. So then you went to Apache school, I assume. I assume that's such a thing.
Yeah, so I picked the Apache. They called it your advanced airframe. So, of course, at the time when I was flying helicopters, the helicopters to choose from was the Kiowa, the OH-58 Delta.
Right. They got them here.
Yeah, and of course the Apache, the Blackhawk, which is a UH-60 Sikorsky airframe, and then the Chinook. CH-47. So I had those to choose from, and I chose the Apache.
One question, of course, is why all these Indian names or animal names for helicopters? The Cobra, the Chinook, which is, I don't know if it is a tribe or the Indian name for wind. I never was sure. Why? I get it, I suppose, but there was the Iroquois, which was the legendary Huey, UH-1H, but no one ever called it the Iroquois. They called it the Huey. And of course, Cobra, that's a Marine platform and Army platform. But it's either a wild animal, fierce, or it seems to be an Indian tribe. Well, is that changing? Or they can? Yeah. Running. They must be running out of tribes and animals by now.
Yeah, it's a good question. Traditionally the U.S. Army has honored the Native American tribes by naming their helicopters after them, and there's a big ceremony with the tribes and everything whenever a new helicopter comes about, and it's always been, a good time for everyone. But recently, newer helicopters coming out, they're starting to get away from that. So I don't know if that tradition is going to continue into the long run.
Okay. America's going through what we call political correctness, PC. And where people are becoming, where I guess the Indian tribes want to continue using their names, but the politically correct crowd in Washington wants to change that. I don't quite understand why.
It's interesting. The new AH-64E Apache helicopter, they had a write-in or a vote to rename it, and the young soldiers, they decided to name it the Guardian.
Okay. Yeah.
So officially, it's the AH-64 Guardian.
Now they got the E's here, right? 64 E's.
Yes.
The newest one.
Yeah. Taiwan was the first foreign military customer to purchase the E model version.
Now I remember when they changed it to the Guardian, and I thought nobody's going to accept this. This is going to be completely ignored.
I think it has been. By and large, no one in the U.S. military refers to it as the Guardian. It's still the Apache.
It's not sexy. I mean, do you want to go in with the Apache or do you want to go in with a Guardian?
But most recently,
like a parent. A Guardian is a parent in America too.
Yeah. But so most recently, the Army announced the winner of the Future Vertical Lift aircraft.
Oh, okay.
Which is the V-280. It's going to be produced by Bell Helicopters or Bell Aviation. So, and the name of that one is the Valor.
The Valor.
So again, it does not have a Native American tribe name.
It doesn't. Is it cargo?
It's cargo. It's a Blackhawk replacement.
What?
But
it's too early.
They're going to make a multi-mission. Basically, long term, it's going to be attack and cargo.
If it's vertical,
utility.
Is it going to be the rotating wings style?
So if you look at the V-22 that the Marines have, it'll look like a smaller V-22.
All right. Where are you going to put the guns? How are you going to avoid shooting your wings off?
Yeah. So you've seen the armed Blackhawk.
Right.
It'll have fixed gun. So it'll have all the weapon systems that the Apache has, but it'll just be a fixed gun. It will not be able to move around.
Yeah, that's what I always like about, in America, we refer to whether it's a tank or a plane or helicopter as a platform. And then we say, well, we can modify the platform to be an attack or utility or a cargo or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mindset there, of course, is that, but still, getting back to the whole idea, Black Hawk Down, the movie. I hate to think of a movie called Guardian Down,
Yeah.
I think we need to get back to our sexy, sort of cool, honey badger. No, the honey badger is like the most dangerous animal in the world, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. So
there's no honey badger helicopter.
Yeah. So doctrinally, the Apache helicopter in the U.S. military performs 4 missions. So attack, reconnaissance, security, and something called movement contact. So the name Guardian really came from the security mission.
All right.
And so in the war on terror, Iraq and Afghanistan, the Apache helicopter was revered by the ground soldiers for its ability to provide security for them on the ground. So the ground soldiers absolutely loved the Apache helicopter.
Love to hear it come by.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Usually the enemy forces would, break contact, disengage. When the Apache showed up, the ground soldiers, they felt a lot safer.
Yeah. Well, some of those Apaches can be completely beyond sight and even hearing the rotor blades and still get hit, right? They can still fire on the enemy, and the enemy has no idea they're there, right?
Yeah, that's true, definitely.
I've seen some video of that.
We can, reach out and hit targets at long ranges for sure, and very effectively.
But 15 years ago, I was given an opportunity to fly in the Osprey at Singapore Air Show, and I refused to get on it because at the time there had been a lot of crashes of the Osprey. And I thought, no, I'm not getting on this one. It has no windows. There's nothing to see. There's going to be a lot of noise. I have nothing to really do aboard this platform except die. It's an easy bake oven.
The Osprey is an interesting beast. It
is a beast. Yes.
Of course, the Bell helicopters had a design for a tilt rotor aircraft, and then the Marines put in their requirements for what it needs to be able to do, and so they had to do some redesigns to the original idea of the tilt rotor. So a lot of that removed performance capabilities that otherwise wouldn't be there. So, anyways, what their Bell is advertising for the V280 is they took all the lessons learned from building the V22 and perfected it.
Great.
So hopefully the new V280 will be safer.
Hey, Brian, thanks for coming. We're going to do another episode here in a little bit. This is John Abrams signing off from Fantastic Formosa.
Thank you.